as a 28-year-old, newly single man, I look back at who I was when I was single before, which was during college. And I used to be like, oh shit, I haven't gotten laid for this long. My bros are going to ask me for a story and I'm going to have to tell them like I'm not getting laid. That's how I used to think. And that's a terrible line of thought. That's misogynistic. That's treating women for their bodies and not for who they are.
The Self-Hype Podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Self-Hype Podcast. It's your boy, Eli, and I'm so excited for this week because we are talking healthy masculinity. We're talking allyship. We're talking all the things and then some with Sander Jennings, who is a digital creator, strategist, and founder of DigiEmpower with 1.7 plus million followers across social. He's created authentic content bridging lifestyle, politics, and he uses platform to advance LGBTQ plus rights, reproductive freedom, and healthy masculinity. His work extends beyond the camera through his training programs, his nonprofit partnerships, and digital strategy consulting that helps movements build community and shift culture. He uses his privilege for good. And boy, do you hear that and receive that on this episode. We talk healthy masculinity, how to be an ally, and how to really navigate healthy relationships and learning, teaching like that vulnerability can be a superpower versus something that makes you weak. He's a great guy, good person, and boy, am I worried about his calves, and you know exactly what I'll be talking about once we get into the episode. So let's do it. What's up, Sander, my man? Well, it's so great to connect with you again. Thanks for making it on the Self-Hype Podcast. Appreciate you, big dog. Can't wait to jump into the conversation and whatnot. I just have to say, Sander ran 12 miles this morning.
This morning, I was supposed to run 13. So, in fact, crashed out at the last mile. But I did run 12 miles this morning, deep in the marathon training. I also played in a flag football game last night and ran before the flag football game. And that's where I did myself in. It was for the social aspect that I was going to run the 3 miles and then had the football game. And my friend was like, come on, we got to run this morning. And I was like, oh, I really don't know. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, last night in my sleep, like I don't normally cramp in my sleep, but I felt a little cramp and I'm like, am I really about to go wake up and try to do this? And I figured, on the day of the marathon, that might happen. So yeah. I might be struggling. So maybe I should go push. And like, I did drink a lot of water. I thought I hydrated enough. I did, a pretty good job. I got through most of the run, but shit, by the end, I was like, oh no. And I was supposed to go to therapy after. And I texted my therapist and I'm like, I don't cancel on therapy, but I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to get in. Can we do a phone call? And then like 10, 15 minutes later, I get on my floor and I'm like cramping. I can't move. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to tell him cancel, charge me if you need to. I can't do this today. My mental, physical is all out at the door for the next hour because I pushed myself a little hard.
Dare I say that's some healthy masculinity of knowing your limitations and knowing that's okay.
I would say, though, it's the opposite of healthy masculinity. In the case today, I ran 12 miles and I pushed myself a little too hard. I was trying to be, relentlessly at all costs, doing my training. And if anything, I got a reality check that, hey, my body needs a rest.
Yeah.
You need to listen to your body. Because I knew going into the run that, like, I was tired. I was worn down. I had run 8 miles 2 days before. I'd run 3 miles and played flag football the night before and woke up at 5:30 a.m. to get out there. And yes, I was trying to push towards new goals and like I needed to get my miles in. Mm-hmm. But in a way, that isn't the version of masculinity or the version of myself that I want to be. Wow. I think the acknowledgement of the struggle that I'm going through today after that run and realizing, hey, sometimes you need to take breaks. Sometimes you can't push yourself to those limits. It's not being relentlessly, fast and in perfect training at all costs. It's, hey, sometimes you need to take that run off in order to run better the next day or the day after when you're ready for it. So kind of healthy masculinity. The way I say it's a more of a learning experience and a mental good version.
I mean, as everyone could already understand and hear based on the first 5 minutes of us talking, this is exactly why you're on the show, is just your thought process and your self-reflection and like going through adversity and understanding and course correcting with accountability and humility which is why you're incredible, man. I mean, I loved meeting you at Trending Up, where we got to meet in DC. You were so helpful and very open about your experience and helping me and other creators as well. And I was just like, yeah, I got to get this guy on, because you're diving into so much. Clearly, even in your own personal life, running a damn marathon on top of your allyship, social justice, or working with orgs. You just voted too? Did you vote today?
Yeah, so today was the Florida primary, and I made sure to get out and use my voice to vote. Back in 2016, when during Trump versus Hillary first election, I was a college guy, and I didn't even vote in that presidential election. I was that type of guy who said, my vote doesn't matter, and so I don't really care. But I remember on the day the election results were coming out, I was actually at a frat party. It was a social with a sorority, and everyone was watching the TVs, freaking out, and all these people were like, as Trump's winning, they're like, yeah, I voted for Trump. And everyone was so loud and proud about voting for Trump. And I was like, I thought this was a joke that this man was running, let alone now, 10 years later, he's running in his second, or let alone now, 10 years later, he's in his second term. And the, harmful effects that he's had on communities that I care about has been disastrous. Yeah. And the way that he speaks about people is terrible. And it is astonishing to me that, I didn't vote in 2016, but I learned my lesson. And now every single day I'm using my voice to try to encourage people to realize that their vote matters and that politics does affect them, because I was once one of those people that said, politics doesn't affect me. My vote doesn't matter. And so today I was, I've been campaigning, unpaid campaigning too, for all of the Florida candidates that I care about, especially the ones in my own district, because we need to create change. And, a lot of people here, I'm from Florida, and they're like, oh no. And then other people are like, in Florida, are like, oh, Florida's great.
Yeah.
But shit ain't as great as you think. And our politicians could be working for us, not for billionaires. And that's what I voted for today. And that's what I want to encourage more people to do, is vote in all your elections, including the primary elections, but especially in these upcoming general elections in November.
Yeah, totally. No, thank you for sharing that. And that's what I'm like curious about, is like, where is this origin story here? Because people see a good looking dude running 12 miles, full beard, very jealous of that, by the way. And he cares. He's wants to help out other communities that is not his and not his even lived experience. So for you not to have this mindset, I guess, even in college and having that experience, was that the moment that made you want to shift and be active in terms of all this? Or like, what was that progression looking like for you to be as engaged as you are now?
Not really, actually. That moment in college where I, didn't vote in the 2016 election, that was the first time I feel like I had like a little pickup of like, okay, I feel sad and bad and like I didn't do something here. But I would say I still wasn't very involved or using my voice, because I cared too much about what other people thought. I cared about what my frat brothers thought about me, and not what I wanted to do and what I wanted to stand for myself. And a lot of people have that fear. Hey, let me just stay in my lane, because if I stay in my lane, then people will like me and people will support me and they won't see me as problematic. But, being who you are will attract the people that you want to attract. And standing up for things that you believe in will help you reach and attract the people that will fill your life up and not bring your cup down. But those are things that I've had to learn a lot later in life. And so, I feel like I really became more politically active, or in quotes, woke, was more so, 2019, 2020. And that's when I really realized the power of my own voice. I had been on my family's reality TV show on TLC called I Am Jazz, where I supported my trans sister. And that was my whole life. Supporting my trans sister and being a amplifier is what I always thought my role was. But it's when I realized, let's stop giving a shit about what my frat brothers think. Let's stop giving a shit about what other people think about me. And let's start thinking for myself and sharing my story. Because in the case of the LGBTQ plus community, for every LGBTQ plus person, there's a sibling, a family, a friend, a neighbor. And they need someone to look up to too, who can speak to them. And I realized as a white man, white cisgender heterosexual man, I could use my voice for that. And I met other influencers, do a lot of cool stuff and funny stuff and comedic stuff, run around. And I did some of that stuff too. I was running around shirtless when I started creating content. I still like to, make jokes, be around family, but it was all part of a strategy for me to funnel people into the content and messaging that I wanted people to see, which in that case was a lot of LGBTQ plus advocacy, but now has evolved into full political advocacy because I've realized that if you ain't doing politics, politics is doing you.
Oof, that's real. That is so real, dude. I mean, I'm so empathetic of what everything you said, because I remember I lived in Northwest Indiana, primarily red state. I remember I was in wrestling, and it was senior year, and there was this club called Socially Together, Naturally Diverse Club, and they were focusing on anti-bullying campaigns and LGBTQ and everything else. And it just, there was a moment of like, wow, the world's really messed up, and there's a lot of people being hurt here. And I didn't opt not going into wrestling, and obviously my friends on the wrestling team were judging me. I wanted to join that Social Together Naturally Diverse Club, and I'm so glad I did, because I gained so much perspective of like other people's lived experiences, and also how I'm being taken advantage of as well. So it's really cool that you were able to develop that. And in terms of your sister too, like I'm the oldest of like 6 sisters. So like knowing that your sister was so like heavily documented on that TV show, like what she had to face and go through, like what was that experience like for you as a brother? Like obviously there's a lot of people's opinions and voices, and I'm sure that could have been just an easy road for her. So how has that been for you as a brother to be able to like be that support system, or how do you even regulate yourself of maybe some of the adversity that she's facing, and that's kind of lean into allyship of how do you make it about them and maybe not even about, maybe not necessarily about yourself. So I guess it's pretty multi question there, but what was that kind of experience, kind of seeing so many eyeballs on her and her lived experience and their opinions of her as a brother, and how did that help develop your allyship, I guess?
Being a brother to Jazz, my older sister Ari, my twin brother Griffin, is my greatest joy in life. Like genuinely, being a brother means so much to me. It is so awesome that, your siblings are the people you're going to know the longest in life. It's not your partner. It's not your parents. I mean, I guess it is your parents as well, but your siblings are your longest best friends.
Yeah.
And my relationship with my siblings means so much to me. And so, when Jazz came out as transgender, I was young. I didn't really understand things. When we started the TV show, I knew I was just being a supportive big brother, because it was ingrained in me that I'm just being a big brother to my sister, who just so happens to be trans and who's facing so much hate and scrutiny. I didn't even realize the significance and power. I didn't even realize that being trans was political. And now we see today that being trans and trans people are being used as political pawns, because 70% or 60 to 70% of people say they've never even met a trans person, even though they likely have, but they just don't know it, because trans people are just trying to exist and live authentically each and every day. But our government is making them out to be all of the shooters, making it out to be the people that are causing all your problems, because if you're pointing down at them, then you're not pointing up at the people that are actually creating the problems. And so for me, being on the show, I didn't realize the significance early on, and I started to realize the significance as I started to step into my voice, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started stepping into my voice, I realized, wow, our family is really creating a lot of change, and I wanted to do more to create that change alongside my family. And now, years even after the show has ended, what we're seeing happening to the trans community is absolutely horrifying, and that's made me realize I need to be even more strong with my advocacy. I need to encourage even more people, and I need to show the true stories of the trans community, because a lot of people do not have a grasp on the reality that the trans community is facing, because our own government is saying there's only 2 genders, because our own government is saying that they're stealing from you because they get it, or because they're making it about trans people getting surgeries in prisons when maybe there's one use case there, or it's trans people in sports when there's not trans people in sports. There's 0 trans people in the WNBA, yet we're seeing that blow up right now. That's the agenda. And unfortunately, I'm angry at even, Democrats, because they're not pushing hard enough to create the actual narrative. And so then if they're not going to do it, I need to do it. Allies need to do it. People like you need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on the trans issue, but all issues. But overall, back to your question, it is my pride and joy to be a brother. And so being on the show and, getting to show me being a good brother, being a good son, and also showcasing some of my silliness throughout the seasons, it was fun. But it also took a lot from the family. And, here or there, the relationship with TLC and how I feel like they showcased our family. Some of it, it's hard to rewatch, especially looking back now. At the same time, you know, grateful that we had that platform to showcase that story. But right now, you know, it would be great if networks like TLC and other organizations stepped up and stood out for the trans community. And that's not what we're seeing happening.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you like breaking that down. And yeah, man, I feel you on that, of one, being a brother and caring so much. Like, that's such a big part of my identity of what I do. But also two is like, you just saying leveraging political pawns, like that is the biggest thing, because everything you're saying is literally a reflection of, say, the Latino community and ICE and like immigrants, and they're out here trying to take your jobs, and fear and division and all that. You see, that's why you have to vote for us, because of this. And like, I love you knowing who you are and knowing based on that what you can give, even that's not your lived experience. For me, I'm a citizen. I'm like second, third generation Latino, but that's my community. Those are my people. I could drive 10 minutes to a neighborhood that's currently has ICE there every single day. So what is my privilege that I get to flex as an ally in the communities that mean something to me? But it's so beautiful that we could share this exchange, so people that are listening to say, yeah, they're using these groups to just get votes and to push these just terrible like policies in place. So it just means a lot to hear from your side of it as well, because it's just so incredibly cool, man.
Yeah. And on the topic of brotherhood, you know, yes, those are my 3 siblings. That's like my, you know, blood, but it's also like I've enjoyed meeting a lot of other creators in all these different spaces who have more of these lived experiences. Creators, friends, you're a friend of mine. You know, I can look at you and be like, hey, Eli, you need help amplifying a message that's affecting the Latino community? Sign me up right now. That's brotherhood right there. That's showing up as a brother for you, and you vice versa. Sander, I see your video about trans rights. You know, maybe I don't know as many trans people, or I can't speak to it in the way that you can, but shit, I'm going to like, share, repost. Oh, tag me as a collab on that. I want to send that out to my audience. That's brotherhood too. That's what we need right now. We need people, whether it's brotherhood, sisterhood, whether it's just friendship. We need everyone coming together for this common core messaging across all these different communities that are being attacked. And so I say that to let you know, I got you. You need anything amplified, you reach out.
Yeah.
Brother. And I know you do the same for me.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh my God. I love this conversation. This is incredible. I mean, that makes me like start thinking then I'm like, when it comes to the word allyship, I mean, obviously social media, people want to help, people want to like, you know, support in this way. I guess like if you could think about it through your journey and kind of your own self-discovery and what you've seen and what you've not seen, what are like, would you say how people might be doing it wrong? Maybe they're making it a little more about themselves than versus the problem that necessarily should be highlighted. Or like, even if you do have a couple like maybe tips and tricks for someone who's like, I really want to be an ally in this space, but I don't want to do it wrong. Or I don't want to be like, come off as like, I guess, cringe or in the wrong way. So like, I guess if you give any like tips or advice for someone on how to, you know, based on your self-discovery and lived experience, you know, in terms of being a ally that's not doing it wrong, I guess, or can you do it wrong? I guess was my question.
Listen, there's so much room for growth as an ally. It's all about learning and unlearning. Even as someone who, you know, has been doing allyship for a lot of different communities, I'm constantly learning and unlearning. The number one thing I'd say for anyone who, you know, wants to be an ally, especially for communities maybe they don't understand as much, is number one, listen. Listen to what other people are saying and, you know, learn from that so that you can devise your own messaging or conversations with friends and family, because it doesn't have to always be about social media. And by listening, you can, you know, develop and understand someone's lived experience and help then to amplify that experience in different ways. You don't always have to be the center of attention. By amplifying someone else's experience, that's a great way for you to be an ally. But then there's also the lens of listening when, you know, you do step up, but then you realize, wait, something I said was not right. It hurt someone in the community. Let me take that post down, or let me, you know, make a follow-up to add context based on something you learned from someone else. So by being a good listener, you're able to hear how you can become and show up better for the communities that you're being an ally for. The last thing is, don't be afraid to step into being an ally and an accomplice to different communities because you're scared you might do it wrong. Doing it wrong is the part of every process in life. At work, you do things wrong. And content creation, throw spaghetti at the wall. You're going to get some viral videos and you're going to fail more often than not. That's what life is about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you do something wrong, especially when it comes to allyship, and especially if you're doing it visibly, listen and learn. If you do that, you know, I've had an experience recently where I really, you know, got an email from someone who said, "Hey, Sander, you did this, and I just wanted to let you know because I don't like that." And I said, "I am sorry. I'm going to do better."
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I can do at that point. And if, you know, there's going to always be people that say, "No, this is irreversible and you can't come back from this." But like, if you're a genuine person and you're really trying to be an ally or an accomplice to a community, like most of the time, people are going to be there for you. You get someone's pronouns wrong, say sorry, you know, talk about it, and then be sure to show up better. Next time you mess up again, you know, they might be more angry, but keep devoting yourself to being better, especially if it's like a really close person that you always, you know, refer to them as different pronouns. Like, it's not easy, but it's also not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
So do the work.
Yeah. Now, I there's something so great about what you said is like allowing yourself to mess up. And you're going to mess up in all areas of life. And we tend to, I guess, put this pressure on these issues because we don't want to come off as ignorant or whatever else. But you just wanting to step in and be a support is so incredible. And there's a lot of learnings in terms of that, of humbling yourself and not getting defensive or not shutting down or throwing in the towel. It's like, you know, these communities wish they could just kind of take a break from who they are and their lived experience. But that's the everyday. That's a privilege you get to have, where just, yeah, you're allowed to make these mistakes, but hold that accountability, which is so incredibly key. So thank you for verbalizing that, because it just creates space for everybody to be able to be a human while being in allyship, which is a big part of the process as well. So
and listen, we could go back to the beginning of the conversation. Me running the 12 miles today. Like, technically, I didn't reach my goal today. Technically, your body should not do and feel the way it felt after. I can look at that as a failure, or I can look at that as a learning experience. And now I know, hey, the night after a football game when I'm up late and eating a late dinner and I ran and I also ran the day before, maybe don't push yourself so hard. Maybe don't wake up early. Maybe let yourself sleep in and work and wait till the next day, right? Yeah. It all is connected on how you can, you know, show up better for yourself and for other people.
Yeah. And as you were saying that, I will say my night was I ate a 4-piece at Popeyes, then passed out on my couch. So, you know, nice. And so you're like, I didn't hit 13 miles. And I'm like, I should have meal prepped that day. It's like we're all in like this, our own journeys of that way. I love to like talk about, like, I guess, you being a man and you being, you know, a straight man, like navigating this space of your, I guess, you, because you speak on masculinity as well, and really kind of sharing like, hey, this is also like healthy masculinity, what this looks like. You can care, you can be empathetic, you can practice vulnerability, and that's okay. I think what that, and I love what you said about community too earlier. I just wanted to acknowledge that, of like, I'm so glad I met you. Like, I think I manifested you, Sander. You didn't even know it, but I'm so glad. I was like, I just want to be around other men that care, and because it could feel like it's lame to care, and there's this kind of almost social pressure where you're like, yeah, you're like, wow, look at this guy caring about other communities and people and whatnot. So, I guess what is like the journey has been for you in terms of like, you know, that feeling of letting go of that, I guess the understanding of what vulnerability is and what it isn't. Because like, what was there a moment, or is there a series of moments of unlearning and relearning in your masculinity? And what are you currently unlearning, relearning like now in this season of life? Like, just kind of walk us through that masculine journey of practicing this vulnerability. Because you came from a frat, so I'm just making assumptions here. There's a lot of like fraternity bros that are like, hey bro, maybe we shouldn't post about feelings and stuff, dog, you know? So what has that journey been like in your own journey as just being a man?
Yeah. As a man, it's cool to have empathy. As a man, it's cool to put women first. As a man, it's cool to learn and unlearn. As a man, It's cool to be you and not try to be someone else to try to fit into someone else's manhood box of what it means to be a man. And so, for me, I really did struggle with like accepting my own masculinity. I really tried to fit in for so long. I tried to be someone I'm not to make other men happy. And we see that happening so much today. A lot of these masculinity influencers that are so well known talk more about, making sure their bros think they are cool, to look smack their bros, to get, validation from the dudes in their life without actually giving a shit about the other guys in their life. They just want to get rich quick or be as ripped as possible and look a certain way, but they don't care to treat a woman with respect. They don't care to make a woman orgasm. I think that's what Claviclear, I think that's how you pronounce his name, said. They preach these messages that, you need to look or act a certain way and that's going to get you laid.
Yeah.
What if it's not always about getting laid? What if it's about hugging your brother and telling him you love him because that's your bro and they're going to be there for you ride or die every single day? What if it's showing up for yourself and, going to work out, but then also enjoying that Popeyes meal right after? As a man, we're constantly being told, get laid, get rich, get ripped. Yeah. And that's not how it has to be. There are other versions of success, and those versions of success, such as being close with your family, such as having close guy friends that you can hug for 10 seconds without it feeling weird, those versions of, hey, I'm going to do some meditation instead of going to the gym for 2 hours today. It's, hey, I'm going to do some, positive work for the community versus, needing to be online till 12 p.m. figuring out how to drop ship shit. All those things are good. If that's the version of success and the type of man you want to be, great. But that's not the only version of success. And, my discovery, push this back. My discovery within my own masculinity has, taken a lot of turns. Let's give an example. In college, when I started posting about allyship, like people were constantly questioning my sexuality. And so as a man, I was like, if a bunch of people are questioning my sexuality, is there something wrong with me? And then I realized, no. Listen, if I was gay, it would be okay. But I'm comfortable with my sexuality and I'm not. And so I'm going to keep promoting allyship because that's who I am. And I don't care what people think. And I had group chats of my frat brothers saying, that post is so gay. Sander, you should take this down. Right? And I could have stopped right there, but I kept going and I've continued to keep going. But when I was in that frat, I am not afraid to admit, like back then, body count meant something to me.
Yeah.
The way I treated women, it's always been with respect, but it isn't the same level of respect they deserve and deserved. And I realize that now today, as I've grown up, as I've gotten older, as I've learned about all the atrocities that we're seeing, with these sexual abusers and these masculine influencers are encouraging you to, treat women with disrespect. Yeah. That women just need to cook, clean, do this, and that's where they belong. Yeah. No, that's not where they belong. They belong, within your heart. Yeah. They belong within your life. They belong, with you treating them with respect and dignity. And we could go a little deeper into that, but I'm not gonna. But, like,
it's real, though. It's so real. Oh my God.
It's really been, I'm newly single. It's been about 8 or 9 months, and I could even look back at my relationship, and I wasn't the man that I know I want to be for my future partner, even though I know I was a great man. But by being single now with a much more evolved, perspective on life, the last time I was truly single was like before COVID, when I was in college. So now being a man who has a successful job, has a successful business, very comfortable with my sexuality, very comfortable with my friendships, my family, and now being single, I'm like unlearning a lot of things that masculinity and being in a frat taught me. And I'm not afraid to admit that. And I'm constantly going to continue to learn because that's how I'm going to show up for myself, for my future partner, continue to show up for my family, and be the best, version of masculinities. And I say it with an S because masculinity is not a one-way street.
No, beautiful answer, man. And there's something you said that's very like compelling of, I want to, like, who do I need to be? What do I need to face to be the man I'm meant to become and for the partner that I'm meant to receive? Like, I have a future partner there and there's a love that's there, but who do I have the capability? Do I have the self-awareness? Am I doing what I need to do in order to receive that love? And there's something really beautiful and humbling about that, because so many people are like, well, screwbacks and everyone sucks and social media and everything's awful and everything blows. And then they end up in another relationship and it's the same toxic cycle over again.
Oh.
So yeah, it's great for you to ask those questions, because it's very, again, humbling. Like it requires a level of checking your ego, because your ego could be so defensive. And especially as a guy, it's like, you come up to me and try to challenge me on anything, or if I'm wrong in any way or whatever, there's this strength that's the only thing that matters sometimes. And if being humble is not strong, or, saying, what, I messed up is not strong, or admitting is not strong. But our whole conversation, and this is why, like, even the first thing you said about the 12 miles again was, I love that you're self-aware of, like, what did I learn from this? How can I be more accountable going forward? And I think that's real ass masculinity right there. That's real ass, like, just full on human. I think there's something so incredibly attractive about owning who you are and owning who you're not, and what that journey looks like, versus having to feel like a complete version. And it's just like crazy how, just like, because I had a podcast episode, we're talking about red pill stuff. It's just all weaponized, right? Like, it's just like trans community, just like Latino community. Men's insecurity is now being a pawn and being weaponized for this whole Andrew Tate, Trumpism, red pill MAGA BS. So I love that we're having these conversations, because it's just like kind of deconstructing all that, because you said it yourself, I said it even me. I was not the best partner. I wasn't the best boyfriend. I had a lot of insecurities. I had a lot of ego. I felt like getting ass was a source of self-worth before I was even self-aware of it. And again, it's all kind of hitting on your insecurities. So I feel for young men now who they're just receiving this one message and the social pressure of it, and it doesn't have to be that way. So I love that you added that S, because there's a lot of different versions of what that can be. That's amazing.
I'll add something on that. So like, as a 28-year-old, newly single man, I look back at who I was when I was single before, which was during college, and I used to be like, oh shit, I haven't gotten laid for this long. My bros are going to ask me for a story and I'm going to have to tell them, like, I'm not getting laid. That's how I used to think. And that's a terrible line of thought. That's misogynistic. That's treating women for their bodies and not for who they are. And now, as a single man, I'm really looking for that emotional connection. I am appreciating a woman's body and space. And if I'm not feeling something with someone, I'm going to communicate to them. But before, I was chasing tail and not chasing, true connection. Yeah. And that was instilled in me for being in a frat. That was instilled in me from, red pill content and the way that masculinity is shown in movies and online and on TV. But now I'm recognizing it, and in a way, I'm deconstructing my own masculinity. Yeah. Like you said, like, I'm doing my own deconstruction, and that's just one example of something that I thought mattered so much. And now, being single, like, I'm realizing I got to protect my own space. And the other thing on that, and my own, being single and dating, is I used to be insecure. I used to be like, oh, if I'm not getting laid, then that means people don't like me, and then I'm doing something wrong. What is wrong with me? How I'm showing up? And now I'm like, I love myself. I know I have so much to offer to a partner because I'm showing up as my most authentic self every single day. And I know what I want to provide for someone else. And I also know what I want back in return. Yeah. And I haven't found that person yet. It's been, only 8 or 9 months since my last relationship ended. But I know, and I'm more confident than ever, that I'm showing up for myself and in a way that I can show up for someone else when the time comes. But I'm in no rush, because there's also this rush. And are told you need to go get married. You need to go have kids. They're also told that women are only good for one thing, reproducing. We could go all day about that.
Oh, yeah.
But, getting comfortable with your own version of yourself is, I think, what's key. And I feel like I'm in that space more than ever for myself personally. And it sounds like you are too. And I think we talked about this on the streets of DC a little bit. I think we started talking about it, and I'm glad I wanted to re-bring it up, because it was right in line with what you said.
Yeah, man. No, I think that's the biggest thing, is like, and that's the big part of the content I talk about, is like, okay, a dude has a roster, a dude's chasing ass constantly. what does that say about him? All his free time's going towards external validation. Like I always talk about, like, yeah, when I was in my 20s, that I was just always trying to holler at girls and always trying to holler at girls because that was that dopamine hit that I matter and that was enough. It wasn't even about sex. It was like just to say you like me. And if you like me, then I matter. And it's funny now where, yeah, similar to you, I'm older than I'm like 36, but I've been single for 2.5 years. And I really took the time to figure out, okay, where is all this coming from? Where's the insecurity? How do I sit and turn stillness and solitude into a home? And so it's so beautiful to speak to another man, to be able to be like, I love me. I don't need that validation out there. Like, and now I'm looking for my person. And it's going to be a different road, but it's going to mean so much more. And there's this just personal wellness journey, and even in love, that you have a self-discovery, and that we tend to think it's just about getting the person. Now there's so much in here for us to kind of learn from the process. So again, it's like so incredible to see you here, man, and to be able to kind of work through all this stuff. Because even on a deeper end, it really dismantles generational trauma too. Because you kind of want to have this bro alpha energy. You meet a woman that might be into that, but it was based on your insecurity and her insecurity, and what kind of relationship and home are we creating for the kids and everything else. So it's just this big snowball effect that could come.
I had that happen. Like because like I said, I was ingrained in this, idea that if I'm not, getting laid, but I was going on dates. And that's a good point here. Like you said, like it's a process. I was still going on dates.
Yeah.
I was still getting to know people. I just wasn't sleeping with all of them. Yeah. And I felt like, oh, maybe it's because I'm not, making the move. And is this a problem with my masculinity?
Yeah.
And that's not the case. It's just, I was respecting them. I was respecting myself. I also, was prioritizing other things like training for a marathon. I still love to go on dates. I still love to get to know people. And, if we're both on the same page and are like, hey, we're both into it, let's explore this physical connection, then then I end up getting laid. We get laid together. That's what it's all about. But that's the process. And I think it's really important because you said the process, and it really stuck out with me because I'm not out here saying, oh, now I'm avoiding girls and like I'm not doing anything. Like, no, it's just my own dating process that I'm going through. And that process no longer involves having sex or, not putting that emotional aspect and being afraid of that emotional aspect. The order is way switched, and I don't need the validation from women or my friends. It's about myself. But sure, I'm still going on dates, and occasionally, things happen.
There we go. Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
And there's communication, and that's what's key.
Yeah. And dare I say, and let's just say it now, and I'm sure you agree, I think the sex is better when you do communicate and you are on the same page and you do feel like this comfort with the person, and it's not this weird like chase and tail for validation. No, I like this person. I feel comfortable with this person, because and that's the kind of thing of facing those insecurities that are like, am I lame because I want to feel comfortable with someone before a physical connection? Like a lot of dudes have this social pressure of, no, I shouldn't, or what is she even going to think of me if I'm not even comfortable? But and if anything, it's so funny because we hear about it all the time, these sayings of men of like, just, chase the bag, don't chase women. Women will always be there. Where I get the wording, but based on our conversation, what the real work is, don't chase the validation, go on that journey of self-validation for yourself. And you could still date, you can still meet women, you can still be outside, you can still look at booties here and there respectfully. You're not going to catcall, but you go up to a woman and say, hey, I think you're really beautiful. What are you doing next Tuesday? I mean, and that's still you being a man, still pursuing, still doing those things, but in a way that there's respect there. And it's easier. That's why the thing is, like, you don't have to go to do all these games and lies and this and that. It's so much easier just being honest. But yeah, that's a whole journey. And for the women listeners, I love that we're having this conversation because it says so much about us just being insecure and never wanting to speak on it. And there's a lot of men out there that may seem confident, but as I'm sure you understand, confidence could be also a projection of insecurity as well. So it's so incredibly key for everyone to receive that. What do we do here? Sander, like, how do we fix this with the red pill, the manosphere, and all that? Like, what? How do we fix the internet? Are we doomed? What do we do next?
As men, we are all insecure, but we are definitely not doomed. We just need more men having the conversations with their bros, or more, content creators like me and you, Eli, talking about these versions of masculinities that show a different version of success, that show that validation does not need to come from, chasing tail or chasing money or chasing six-pack abs, but that it can come from, going to a run club with friends and being social while running, or, going to start a little side gig, small business that you actually enjoy because it's something you're passionate about, versus, oh, I need it to make me the most money right here, right now, or I'm not going to do it. It's not all about money. It's not all about, pushing yourself to the brink of laying on the floor cramping for X amount of hours, right?
So worried about your calves. You need to get a massage. I don't know if that hurts or helps the marathon.
I'm getting a massage. I'm going to Greece next week on a fitness trip. I'm taking myself on a trip. I'm taking a little time off of work because I deserve it and I need it. And by showing that on my social media, that shows another version of masculinities that more men need to see. But I'm not going to talk about it by flaunting off, this, and this. I'm just going to show myself enjoying myself around friends, showing myself taking some time off from working out, versus, the other versions that show you putting money and putting it down like this. Like, men are not doomed. Men just need to realize that having empathy is not weakness, that being strong involves showing up for yourself and others in powerful ways and treating people with respect. Right now it feels men will continue to be insecure. Women are insecure. Like that's a part of, life. But when you're insecure and you have someone you could call and be like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, I'm having a rough day. And knowing you have those people versus isolating yourself in a corner because you're working too hard in the gym or with your job, you isolate yourself. So then there's isolation and insecurity.
Yeah.
But we can fight that by, more men being like, hey, brother, what's up?
Yeah.
And it all starts with that. I think it's about starting more conversations between more men to realize that, hey, we're on the same team here. We don't need to compete all the time. Let's just love one another.
Yeah.
And that's what's up.
That's what's up. No, I appreciate you expressing that. And it is simple as just like, creating a new dialogue and conversation and kind of challenging even the pushback in a way. Where if you're that person, and there's so much beauty and deeper depth of relationships with guys, where even with some guy group friends that I have, the ones I've known for longer, it's like we all make fun of each other. It's like, oh yeah, I feel sad. I'm like, yeah, well, okay, bro. But then they'll be like, no, I'm actually really sad. I'm like, oh, okay. But like, how do we challenge that layer so we get more vulnerable a little faster along the way? It always has to be super terrible, most awful thing in most for order to actually care. So yeah,
I'll say this: I'm the guy that my guy friends know they can cry to. I'm the guy that my guy friends know they can go to, when they need some sort of validation or support that maybe they're not getting from their partner or they're not feeling within themselves. And that's the type of guy I want to continue to be. That's the type of guy I want to encourage more men to be. That's what success looks like to me. It's making sure that my friends know that I'm there for them. It's making sure that my family knows I'm there for them and continuing to show up for myself each and every day. So it's not a paycheck, but that also comes by doing those things. My business is very successful, and it's because I've created great relationships with men and women in my life. And I also have friends that, hit me up to work out, go on a run with, because I'm there for them. And so then they're like, I want to be around this guy more. And that allows me to reach my fitness goals as well. Yeah. What goes around comes around, but it all starts with showing up for yourself and others with that empathy, with that respect. And more men need to hear that message.
Oof, I received that. Now that inspires me to make that decision today, or even make that decision in the morning, first thing in the morning. I try to be like, what can I give? What do I want to receive? What do I want to give to the world? But there's something really beautiful what you said is like, what's the type of man I want to be? What's the type of friend I want to be? And I want to be the one. What is success to me? on this end, and what is that journey to get to that success, and what do I have to face along the way? Okay, I already know all my female listeners are like freaking out right now, wondering how do we get a Sander? Where, how, what, when, how, what, where? And I think it's this struggle of like women wanting these more emotional, vulnerable, open men, and maybe they even have men in their lives that kind of struggle opening up. So I guess in kind of your lived experience, like obviously this is not a woman's job. This is us, for us to do the work for each other, but for the women that are, I guess, curious about like how can I be a support system to maybe have a guy or create safe space for him, or what should I be maybe necessarily even be looking for? What questions to ask guys? Like, does anything come to mind in terms of that question of like, how women could be able to like sought after, or at least like create safe space for guys that maybe might be open-minded in doing this work of vulnerability?
Yeah, I do have to run in a second. Let me text.
Sorry. Yeah, no, all good.
Let me just say,
no, you're
running 3 late on call.
So, yeah, we'll feel free to answer that one as quick as you want, and then after that, we're just gonna do a wrap up. So I only have like one more question left anyway. So you're good.
I think when it comes to women supporting men, first off, it's not their job. Like, it's not their job to need to tell a man to be better. It's up to the man to be better. But obviously, men have been trained and, pushed into these masculinities, a lot of negative, red pill content and whatnot. So if you do want to, push or try to show support to your partner, it's one, communicating, but also showing them examples, sending them, a piece of content from Eli or from Sander, showing them versions of masculinity that don't look like what they're seeing all the time and online, but also, expressing to them, like, let's say, your guy voted for a candidate who doesn't support reproductive freedom. Then you need to tell your man, like, that bothers me, and talk about it. It's having the conversations and communicating, because then they might be like, wait, this is more important. This is a bigger issue to me than, the stock market or different things that like maybe don't even affect them, but they're being told needs to matter more.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's communicating to your partners and your loved ones and letting them know how you feel about certain things. And I know it's scary. So that's the other thing. Don't do it if it's not a safe space to do it. But then maybe that's a signal to you, is like, is this the right person for me?
Totally. Yeah, that's it right there. I mean,
that's easier said than done, though.
Easier said than done. I mean, obviously the fear and emotions all attached to that. So no, thank you so much for expressing that. And that in itself it's not your job. And if it's starting to feel like it's your job, then you got to really question the connection, especially if you're practicing communication and all that. And you're facing your fear of setting boundaries, which I love that you verbalize that too, or sharing your interests or non-negotiables. It's so incredibly crucial with the people that are around you to know that. Okay. Last question I got for you. It's a question I give everyone on the show. If you could go on a time machine, you could go back to any moment of your life, and you can only share one piece of advice for that younger version of you, what would the age be, and what would you tell them?
I think on the purpose of this call, I mean, let's go back to 2016, Sander at the frat party, watching Donald Trump get elected for the first time, and tell him all these things about how you can be a better ally, how politics affects everything, and how you can be, a masculine man without needing to go get laid or needing to, put others down to put yourself up. And so I'd go back to that moment, because you saw it as is this when you got engaged? And no, I would say it was 3 or 4 years later that I really stepped into my allyship and stepped into who I truly am. But I was so fearful back then, even after having that little defining moment. And so I'd go back to that day.
I love it. Thank you so much, man. And again, appreciate you being on the show and spending the time here. And it's just, these are the conversations I've been yearning for. So I thank you for just being who you are and just creating such amazing safe space. And just knowing that there are men here doing the work, and not perfect, but showing up every day despite all the things that are happening. So thank you so much for the time. Last thing, is there anything else you want to share, drop, anything else we did to cover? Any lasting thoughts for the listeners?
Y'all, everybody love everyone. If you want to go follow me across socials, it's at Sander_Jennings. My DMs are open. Let's connect. Let's get along. I'm always looking for new friends, people, potential future wife, all these different things. So definitely follow me at Sander_Jennings. And Eli, I'll see you later. I'm on that call and we will continue to connect. And I said it. If you ever need anything, if you ever need amplification, do not hesitate.
Same here, brother. No, I mean that for sure. What's up, everyone? I hope everyone enjoyed the episode with Sander. He's incredible. His social handles will be in the show notes, so definitely check him out. Follow him. His DMs are open, everyone. Now, I had such an incredible conversation with him, and these are the kind of conversations I've been really advocating for, to be around men, content creators, men that are doing the work that care, showing a different side of healthy masculinity. So, you know, maybe this episode you want to share to a friend, a guy friend, a brother, a man in your life that is open, that is curious to the journey, and really hearing him has inspired me to be a little more aggressive in terms of the content that I make, in terms of my just lived experience, not even knowing that I am a lived experience of healthy masculinity, and to kind of lean on that more in terms of just my general lifestyle and what that means for me in terms of healthy masculinity. So I gained so much perspective from him, and on the political social front of just how not only trans LGBTQ rights are being used as pawns, but the Latino community is being used as pawns, and immigrants and even men and versus women are being used as pawns now, all for some political gain and control. And it says something about these type of conversations that really just fill my spirit and heart. So all the props to my boy Sander. And thank you all for listening this week. Definitely check out his socials. And if you want to do the inner work and find that healthy man, check out the show notes too. Healthy Love Club. We meet every Thursday night, and you take my full course load of all things mental health, personal development, and how to navigate that nervous system while looking for the love that you deserve. I'll see you guys next week.
The Self Hype Podcast.